Hi everybody. My name is Vijay, and I am the managing director of a company called New Crossroad Asia. It's in Myanmar, in the crossroads of India and China, two of the largest economies in Asia. And I'm based in Myanmar for last 9 years, and I run a boutique advisory firm in Myanmar for last 6 years. We help our clients in terms of entering into Myanmar market. That's what we do. So I have like two presentations. One is the basically what we do, like which I will take in like next 2 minutes, and after that I will be sharing the details about the different sectors in Myanmar. So as an NCR, we started in 2013 as an advisory firm. For us, the main energy sector focus is like we focus our clients are like energy sector. Some of our clients are in agriculture. We have helped the clients in telecom, in fast moving goods, automobile. So these are the sectors that we focus in providing the advisory and market services for our client. Next slide, please. So basically, that's what we do. Like we provide in when a foreign company trying to enter in Myanmar, we provide them like to do a joint venture. We do a consulting service for them. We do market study for them, and then we do the valuation when the clients are looking to do the valuation services. That's what we do for our clients. Next one. So basically, these are the services that we provide. Like it's in depth. So we can go to the next slide. So this is like this is in detail that what we provide as a firm. Next one. And basically, these are the clients that we have helped in last like. So we have worked with big bank like Standard Chartered, who has an office in Myanmar. We work with a like French company Lafarge in cement sector. We have helped them to do some studies. We have worked with some steel client from India. We have worked with insurance company AIA, which has entered in Myanmar. So we have worked with them on market study. So these are a few of our clients that we have worked with. Next one. So as we talk about Myanmar is a $70 billion GDP economy, which has grown tremendously in last 10 years. So what happened in Myanmar in 2010? Like Myanmar was ruled by the military from 1962 to till 2010. In 2010, they moved to quasi-democracy. When the military generals they said, okay, we will allow to have elections, and then they said, okay, we will only control 25% of the parliament seats, and for balance we can have the election. So the first government came in 2010, and that was again it was a more of like the military generals who became politicians. So they won the election, but they started the reform. So first reform started happening in 2012. So then the first biggest reform happened in Myanmar in 2012 was the telecom. Just imagine when I moved here in 2011, a SIM card, mobile SIM card was $2,000. To buy a SIM card you are paying like $2,000 to get a mobile connection. And after when in 2012, when they did reforms in telecom, by 2014, the SIM card became like $1. And all thanks to when they opened up the country for the foreign investment, like one of the biggest European company, Telenor, they invested, and they are the largest telecom operator in Myanmar. So they got the license. They have covered the whole country for the telecom operation. So that happened. So it's a young country with a 50 million population. The median age is like 28 years. It's like 30% urbanization. Mostly the people are Buddhists. Like we are talking about 90% is almost Buddhists. Then we have Christians and Muslims. And Myanmar has the commercial capital is Yangon city, where I am based in. So it used to be the capital, but like 15 years back, the military general decided they need to have a new capital. So they made Naypyidaw. Naypyidaw is a complete new city built up in the middle of nowhere. So they made a new city that is the capital city for the political things. But still, all the embassies and all the diplomats live in Yangon as we speak today. So when the reform started in 2012, you see that in my slide, as foreign direct investment started coming to Myanmar, as this allowed different sectors for the foreign investment. So from like $1 billion per year foreign investment, it moved to like $6 billion. So the foreign investment started coming up in the country, and the reforms happened. So that's what they did. And majorly the investment was coming from like China and Singapore. But Singapore, as we say, is most of like for the company structures. Even European companies or even American companies, those who put up the investments in Myanmar, they did through their subsidiary companies in Singapore. But in last 2 years, we have seen that like the investment from Hong Kong has picked up. So Hong Kong has invested in this year in infrastructure in the power sector almost like $600 million in, and so that's now Hong Kong is picking up in Myanmar apart from Singapore and China. So that has happened. Next slide, please. Now, as we see, like Myanmar is at the crossroads of like the one of two of the largest population-wise economies, and then that we are talking about India and China. It's just at the crossroads. They both countries share the border with that, and then we have the whole ASEAN bloc. So ASEAN is like a community of like 10 countries. We are talking about Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar. So these 10 countries combined together, they have a huge population with a young workforce and with sizable disposable income. And at the same time, it contributes a lot of GDP. So it's a gateway to, as we say, it's a gateway to ASEAN. So like you can literally drive from Myanmar till Vietnam. So if you start driving from Myanmar, you can go to first Thailand, then comes to Cambodia, and then you can reach till Vietnam. So there's a whole infrastructure is happening, which will in the future like that whole countries from even from India. So from India till like Vietnam by road you can travel. So all these countries are integrating the logistic part and to improve the infrastructure. And that's where the both India and China are trying to invest money in the infrastructure in strategic locations in Myanmar. Next one, please. So what makes Myanmar attractive? As Mr. Khan said, it's like same. I would say the same things about Myanmar, but as compared to Bangladesh, it's a smaller economy. But we are talking about a young population, large labor force, growing consumerism. They like to try all the international brands. They love to buy things. They love to eat outside. And they are, as they are close to the world's largest like markets like India and China. And reforms like political reform. Now there's a quasi-democracy, 75% seats. They have elections, proper elections, 25% seats by the military. And there's ample natural resources. It's like Myanmar has a fertile land. They have forests. They have like largest like mines of jade and ruby in the world. So they have ample natural resources as we speak. Next one. Now I'm coming to the different sectors. Like so, when I say in the Myanmar banking sector, so Myanmar banking sector has reformed. Like again, when I go back to 2012, in 2012 in Myanmar there were not even a single ATM. The whole country was running on cash. Like you need to carry like a lot of money in your car. So from there, like today we have like 4,000 ATMs across the country. The local banks local banks have opened 2,000 branches, and at the same time, as I have I'm sorry, at the same time, the foreign banks are allowed to open the license in Myanmar. So the bank like Bank of Tokyo, Mitsubishi, Chinese banks like ICBC, and like other like Singaporean bank like UOB, they have opened the branches. And same like there's ANZ Bank, there's a Korea Bank. So there are 13 banks, they have got the license to run the business here now. So the foreign banks are now allowed in last 4 years to have to run the operation to support their country's companies who are investing in Myanmar. At the same time, still we are talking about like less than 10% people have bank accounts in Myanmar. So huge opportunity in the whole Myanmar banking sector. Next slide, please.
You should get somebody to bring you some water.
It's fine.
So
it's fine.
Relax.
That's fine. So, yeah. So that's why. So now we are talking about again the next thing is in Myanmar garment sectors. Again, as like Bangladesh has done real well in terms of the whole garment sector. But what has happened in last 6 years? Again, being a young population and very low cost labor cost. Like we are talking about like the minimum wages in Myanmar is like $3 per day. So that's the salaries, the low labor cost has allowed all the companies who were like working in China, Cambodia, or Sri Lanka to have the base in Myanmar. So this economy from like less than $1 billion, it's now almost a $3 billion garment export. And all these garment exports are going to Europe. We are talking about like Germany, France, Italy, Spain. So that has happened. And I would say in last 4 years, there are more than 600 factories open up in Myanmar, and which has created a large workforce, like 500,000 people got job, and mostly these are women. So it has really helped the economy to create jobs for the people. And like again, as we see, the government is looking for like it could be a $10 billion export in next coming 5 years. That's the government plan. So garment sector for the European clients is a huge opportunity in Myanmar. Yeah, next slide, please. Hello. Now the next one is the Myanmar energy and power sector. Again, we are talking when we talk about Myanmar, you should look in from the perspective that it's like 20 years behind Bangladesh or Europe. Just you can't like it was because it was a closed country for 40 years because from 1960 till 2010, almost 50 years, it was a closed country. The journals were not allowing the foreign investment, so the infrastructure became very weak. So every sector gives you the immense opportunities. So when we are talking about power sector, it in terms of like government has like at onshore and offshore oil rigs, they have like done the auction, and in that all the major players like BP, Chevron, they have participated in that. At the same time, like as we see the consumption, the per capita consumption in Myanmar is like 1/10 of Malaysia, or like 1/10 of like Thailand. So as and in this country, like 30% people have the access to the electricity. So Yangon used to have like 6 to 8 hours power cut every day when I moved here. But now in last 6 years, the investments in like power plants or solar based, like now there's a huge thing about solar, like and the hydro based project that has happened. So like 3 months back, there's a huge investment happening in the solar where there's the government has said, okay, they will put up like 30 sites for the solar projects that has happened across different cities. So that is going to give a like 1 gigawatt capacity of the power to for the investors they are putting up here. But definitely power is mostly done by like Thai companies and the Chinese company. But at the same time, we have seen some German players who are interested in the power and some from France, they are doing some activities here. Next one, please. Yeah, Myanmar has a lot of natural gas, and that we are talking about billions of cubic meters, which they have like exporting to China and Thailand. So this and that's great. That has given them the huge opportunities in terms of the gas that they are doing. They have the offshore blocks, they have onshore blocks, and all major players like from like Chevron, like Pacifican, PTT from Malaysia. All these guys have entered in Myanmar as the auction happened of these and which has given the foreign investment to Myanmar. So foreign investment came to like in 2016-17, it was like $5 billion. And now the government is next year they are planning again. They have another offshore and onshore blocks which they are planning to auction again for the foreign investors. Next one, please. Now, coming to the overall infrastructure, like again, these are the like logistic index that as for the World Bank, which is like again gives the Myanmar the lowest in the ASEAN standard. But when you see the overall infrastructure projects, so you will see the huge infrastructure work is happening. So there's a study that says that Myanmar need to spend in next 20 years $200 billion to develop its infrastructure. When I say about infrastructure, we are talking about roads, we are talking about ports, we are talking about bridges, we are talking about elevated expressway, and that's going to happen. And for that, there's a huge support from like China, Japan, Korea, Thailand, and India. So these Asian countries like now trying to support in terms of the whole G2G based deals where they say, okay, we can put up some infra projects, or we can build up this road or this highway. So that's started happening now. And at the same time, now the government is with the help of IFC and the World Bank, there's a whole thing coming up about the PPP model. So because now they are able to understand the public-private partnership for these big projects. So now the government is coming to to have them the structure and the framework to do the PPP model. So that is happening. But in terms of the infrastructure, it's a huge opportunity for next 20 years when we are talking about Myanmar. Next one. Yeah. So these are like now when we say about Myanmar, so like what has happened, the reform. Now as a foreigner, you can open a company in Myanmar in one day. You can own it 100%. Everything has become online. So as you are sitting in Norway, or you are sitting in Sweden, or you are sitting in India, you can go to a website, you can open your company. Straightforward. Everything is online. You pay by your credit card. That's it. If you open the company, next day you will have your company certificate. You don't need a local director. You can be 100% owner. So that all these things have really helped in terms of the as the more investors are coming, and there's no minimum paid up capital. So there's no minimum paid up capital required. So you can open a company with a minimum capital like $1 or $10 or $100. It used to be $50,000, but not anymore. So those reforms which has happened as per this Myanmar companies regulation in 2018, it has really helped even small sizes and medium sizes companies coming from the regional players. Regional players, when I say like Thai companies, Vietnamese company, or even like Indian companies, or they are coming to Myanmar, set up the company, and now you can open your bank account with the company as a foreigner. You can control it, but at the same time, there are certain businesses which are not allowed for the foreigners. So,
Yeah, that's good, because that's a question you'll get, of course.
yeah. So no, I like so there are certain businesses which are not allowed for the foreigners. Like so, foreigners can't invest in some strategic investments. They can't do the mining themselves 100%. They can't do trading business. Trading business, like they can't do the distribution of goods. So in that case, they have to do joint venture with a local guy. So still, but most of the sectors, as we speak, like service sector, they have reform. Education, healthcare, they have logistics, warehousing, they have reformed completely. Manufacturing. So in manufacturing, like Myanmar has a like one-stop service. They call it OSS, one-stop service, and that is like under the umbrella of Myanmar Investment Commission. So in that, like they give you tax holidays. Whatever you are importing as in machineries, they don't charge you any custom duty, they don't charge you any commercial tax. And once you have set up your factory, when you're exporting or you're selling locally, they give you certain tax holidays. So they don't charge you any income tax for 3 years or 5 years or 7 years, depending on the which part of Myanmar you are putting up your factory. So they have divided the zones so at least the whole country can grow. So if you are putting up in a more developed city, they will give you a 3 years income tax holiday. So you don't need to pay any tax on your profit for 3 years. If you do go to a zone B, you don't need to pay tax for 5 years. If you go to zone C, you don't need to pay any tax for next 7 years. Once you start your business, whether you are manufacturing, once you're manufacturing here or you're exporting or manufacturing and selling to the local market. So, and that 100% manufacturing, you can own it. So when I say what happened in big investment, I say in automobile, Suzuki has put up a plant here. Toyota is almost constructing a plant. Nissan has put up a factory. In terms of consumer goods, Coca-Cola has put up a plant here. Colgate has put up a plant here. So these guys, and like so, just to give the investor, all these big companies, they have to follow the tighter guidelines, compliances. They have already invested money. Same goes for the hospitality industry when we talk about hotels. So Hilton is here, Shangri-La is here, Pan Pacific is here. So that investment happened. Like when I moved here in 2014, there was only one 5-star hotel in Yangon. Now we are talking about like 20 5-star hotels in Yangon already, and another 20 which are coming. So that has happened. Next slide.
Okay. So Vijay, I'll give you just a couple more minutes to go quick because we want to have time for some ending.
No, these are like just no. It's like nothing. Like just these are the reforms. I'm just so that they have the timelines of different reforms that happened from 2016. So they allowed like to do the development zones. They started promoting certain sectors. So government from 2016 they allowed like investment like livestock farming, all those things. Go to the next slide. So and then they have the investment. They have allowed investment in 2000 in education. Then they have allowed like they said okay. There can be public companies, then they're changing rules in 2018, and then they have regulation change, then they reduce the fees. So now opening a company, the government fees is like $200. For a foreigner to open a company, they have to pay the government like $200. It used to be $1,000. So that's why they have reduced so much cost to start a business in Myanmar, and which has really helped them to in terms of improving their business performance. So like World Bank report says that like Myanmar, ease of doing business in Myanmar has really done well in like they have improved certain indexes. So that they have done. Next one. So that's one again, the news like in 2019, again, they have come up with the anti-corruption code, ethics for the corporate bodies. Then they allowed us like if people want to wind up their businesses, they made it more straightforward. And then they came in 2019, if you want to change certain things in your proposal and investments. So they keep on doing the reforms. Next one. And then these are the different ministries, those who came out with the different things. So you can import machinery, you can import cars, you can open a car showrooms, and then you can do the activities in different sectors. And then came the minimum wages when they said, okay, so as the garment factories came up, they said, okay, there should be minimum wage for the workers. Before 2018, there was no minimum wage. So they have defined, and that's the minimum wage, like $3 per day. That's kind of a thing that they have done. that's it. As I'm just wrapping it up, it has a lot of details you can share with people. Again, Myanmar, as we say, is a land of like Shwe. Shwe is the gold. Word is for the gold. It's a golden opportunity, the golden country that we say, and Shwedagon Pagoda as a Buddhist culture. It gives the whole opportunity. We are talking about a country which is going to be built up for next 30 years. It's going to be built up, and all the players like from across the world, they need to participate in that journey for all the companies or the individuals. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Now I think we're all going to want to move to Myanmar after your presentation. Let's